Yo.
Yo,
All right. So what's going on today?
well, I guess we can start with my shirt. Like the man.
I saw that Gozer's house. Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, you like that? I figured you would.
Yeah, it's a good one. Obviously, I love Ghostbusters. Do you like the second film?
Ghostbusters 2?
Yeah,
Yes, fantastic.
I love it. But I think a lot of the population maybe doesn't agree.
That's ridiculous.
I
That's
know it
ridiculous.
gets bashed a lot, which I think is crazy. Because
I think it's better than 1.
so do I. I know I'm going to get some flack for that, but the first one's obviously great. It's classic, but I really like the second one.
I just watched a documentary on like Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Like Bill Murray was like not really involved and he like didn't even know. It's a long story, but it's a good documentary. If I find it, I'll send it to you. We don't need to get into
Yeah,
Ghostbusters,
yeah,
but
definitely. I'd like to watch that. I love
the
Ghostbusters.
dude, the bad guy, not the he's not the bad guy, but like the dick guy in 2.
Oh, the museum director or whatever.
No, 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 no. I'm sorry, the guy in 1 who wants to get him in jail.
Oh, Walter Peck, I think his name
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
that dude is went to high school with my mom.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, every time he comes on, she's like, "Oh, that guy."
No kidding. Well, his role's great because we absolutely hate that guy. In the movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's all these dick jokes about him in the movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good one. So
All right,
I know you're
go
not.
ahead. Talk about the big news of the
Yeah, I
week.
know you're not really enthusiastic to talk about this, but I feel like we have to chat about it for a minute. Obviously, the whole Trump trial transpiring yesterday, and found guilty on 34 counts. We don't need to go into like the nitty details because
Let
mainstream
me be
media's
honest with
already
you.
got it covered,
By
at
the
least
time,
some of it.
by the time this thing actually came to trial, I was already so convinced that everything like since Russiagate and all the proven lies before that, like I was just like, whatever, dude. I didn't even pay attention.
Yeah, I didn't
I don't
follow
know.
it either.
All I know is about Stormy Daniels and who did he pay it off with a certain way, and Cohen and money and whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
really. I'm not really the. I don't think it was the fairest of all trials. I don't know if he got 12 of his peers up in that bitch. But again, there's so much crying wolf and trying to find him guilty. You know, they were looking for the man and finding the crime, as opposed to solving a crime and finding the man.
yeah.
You know, it was a witch hunt, and they finally found something that stuck. Regardless, all the shit before, like what the like how I don't know, like, you know what I mean? It just gets me all like Russiagate, dude. Like what the fuck? How can you deny that shit?
Well, people deny it because they haven't actually seen the emails and all of the other
I
evidence
know.
that supports it. They just see
I
what
was
they see on the 6 o'clock news, and they tell a completely different story on that.
I was talking to somebody on Facebook today about it, and it went from the Trump trial that just happened to like how can why I don't think that it was possibly a fair trial. I really don't care if it was or it wasn't. If he's guilty, he's guilty. You know what I mean? But I think at this point, like I don't trust the whole process of getting him.
So I don't really like follow all these trials and all these little like. I mean, these was what like 90 something charges. I don't even know what they
Yeah,
all
it was
are.
like 34 at the end.
Right, well, or 34 at least that they convicted him of.
Oh,
I guess
there's a
again, he was paying off Stormy Daniels to keep quiet about them having
no.
some kind of
It's
sexual
it's not that
encounter.
he paid her off. They always say that she's a porn star. It has something to do with
Yeah,
it.
who cares?
But it doesn't matter. It's not that he paid her off. It's the way he paid her off. Apparently, he used it through. He wrote it off as like a legal fee. So, to my understanding, and I'm no expert because I barely paid attention, and if it wasn't for something I watched earlier, I wouldn't even know this. But I guess they can find him like guilty of like it was one thing that he did, but they can whack him 34 times for it. It's like three different things based off one thing that could be 34 times. Like
Gotcha.
say it's the same charge, but they updated the books, whack with the charge again. Updated the books, whack with the charge again, or something like that. I'm not convinced. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of information on it,
And
but
I'm
from what
not
I've heard, it
saying
sounds like these charges are like super, like almost. I don't want to say nonsense, but um,
well, they're he's not going to receive jail time, even though like I also heard that, and I'm not saying this is right, but like they're like trumped up felonies. They're not really felonies.
pun
Like it,
intended.
Yeah, that's
trumped
fine.
up
I
felonies.
do that all the time. But again, the reason I don't know really any of this is because I stopped paying attention after the first set of lies and the second and third set of lies. Plus, I don't like Trump, so I don't really care.
Well, I mean, I'm obviously I'm not a fan either. We've said this a couple times already, but again, to see somebody go through the legal system for what I understand is very minimal
Correct.
stuff is
Correct.
very concerning to me.
I will defend the guy when I think he's being falsely accused, and all that Russia Gate shit was falsely accused. And if you need to figure that out for yourself because you don't believe me, go look at Scott Horton stuff, Matt Sleepy, Schellenberger, Peter Van Buren. All these people have written books and they have all the information you need, all the citations, all the stuff. Go look for yourself and prove me wrong. Read that shit and prove me wrong. Or listen to all
It's
the
fair.
countless interviews that all the podcasts they've been on and all the interviews they've given like I have. Because I jerk off to this shit. I watch this shit all the time.
So regardless of the scenario, whether we think he's guilty or not, or whether he deserves to be punished, reprimanded, sentenced, whatever, what kind of impact do you think that this is going to have on the general public and the overall election?
Minimal.
You think it will hurt Trump?
Maybe. I mean, it depends on who's on the board that's really going to piss him off. It was not going to piss off anybody who doesn't watch the mainstream media. Like that's the arguments I was getting today. Basically, it was like I almost knew the argument that was coming. It's just clippets of like what you saw on a CNN broadcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, taken out of context. Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever. I'm just like, but this guy with Trump, but this did happen. But I'm like, yeah, but it's like so much to explain. You have to like look at it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not going to have one article or a TikTok clip with bullet points for you to figure out all the bullshit that happened.
Yeah,
You
you're gonna have to do a little deep dive
have
into
to
that.
take
Yeah.
time to look, man.
Yeah,
Do
that's
your
fair.
own fucking research.
That's fair. Again, if it's concerning to you, again, I'm concerned. If we're, again, that we might be overusing the judicial system to criminalize somebody
The
who maybe
CIA,
normally most people might get away with what he did, or it might just be a slap on the wrist, or just
the whole Russian thing was basically bullshit. The DOJ, the FBI, and the CIA, Hillary, and the top levels of the administration at the time, because remember, it was still Obama back then. It was before Trump was elected. They all fucking knew. There's proof they all knew. There's people have given statements to the Congress on this and that, and we put all the pieces together, ABC, bingo bango.
right.
You
I
don't
just
believe me?
go
Well,
ahead.
I know people don't believe me. I'm trying to tell you where to go to get it.
I just find the hypocrisy of it all quite amusing, right? So you have like Hillary, saying that that Russia helped Trump rig the election and he never should have won in 2016. And then, Trump says the same thing in 2020 and they attack him for it. Like you guys
You know
literally
what?
just said the same thing about him just a couple of years ago.
You know what happened right before the RussiaGate Trump thing? Hillary's people released all that crap.
Yeah.
What happened right before that?
What happened?
Her emails.
Oh, right. So yeah, we get them to stop talking about the emails. It's like
It has, yeah, like when they're like, there's proof that people were like breaking the phones with hammers. They didn't make that shit up. People reported that. People who were there said it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And it was all because the Hillary and the DNC. Here's another fun fact for you: fucked over Bernie Sanders to have Hillary won. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the whole thing is just wild to me. I mean, to be quite honest, I think this actually helps Trump's campaign. I mean, I think a lot of people that maybe were on like the fringe of like whether they were going to vote for him, especially Republicans, and even many Republicans who maybe don't like him, maybe this garners him sympathy, and I think that this is going to backfire on the powers that are trying to imprison him, and I think that it's going to have the opposite effect, and he's actually going to get even more votes than he was going to before.
What might happen, because I was going to bring this up, is what happened at the Libertarian Convention. Because we really didn't get into it last time. I know I brought it up, but we got sidetracked. A lot of libertarians are not happy with the person they picked. I'm being one of them. This dude Chase Oliver. Look him up if you want. But I was supporting Reckenwald and the Mises Caucus, Tom Woods, Tom Woods, Dave Smith, Spike, Angela McArdle, fucking Bob Murphy, Mises. You know what I mean? But Trump gave a speech there, and even though his speech was awful, the worst one I've ever heard, so many libertarians are pissed that they might go Trump. And libertarians know that Russiagate was bullshit because we pay attention and read.
So I know me and you have said earlier, in previous episode that we're not going to vote for Trump. If anything, what would it take for you to join the Trump train? Like, what would happen?
Well,
Is there anything that could happen?
I've been thinking about that because I normally would have been like, I'll just vote for the Libertarian, but I don't like this Libertarian a lot.
Strongly dislike this Libertarian
Yeah,
candidate.
man, he's basically a leftist in many ways.
So yeah, what would have to happen if there's anything, if there's any possibility for you to be like, hey, you know what, I'm going to vote for Trump?
Right now, I've decided that I probably would just either not vote for president or just like write you in.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not doing the lesser of two evils things, man. That's just not me.
Yeah, I just can't bring myself to vote for somebody that I really just don't support or disagree with.
Yeah,
Like
just
again,
'cause
even RFK, I'm struggling, man. I'm really struggling. RFK, please reverse your course on Israel.
I don't know.
Please.
He's so. That Israel shit does bother me.
It
And I
really
don't know
bothers
how-
me, man. I can't vote for him, and I want
and I
to.
don't know how committed he would be to like. I think it'd be interesting if he got in there and was like, "Oh, see you later, CIA." You know,
Oh, that'd be
goodbye,
marvelous.
FBI.
Yeah, that'd be tremendous, as Trump likes to say. That would be fantastic if he got in there and started doing all the things that his uncle and father were trying to do. But yeah, I really just I have such a problem with his stance on Israel that I just, even though that's like the only like major thing that bothers me, I just can't vote for him. I can't.
I mean,
just
it's like,
can't put
do
my,
I vote LP just to make us look like we have numbers?
Not if you don't like the guy.
Nah, I can't. I think I'm just gonna probably most likely just put in, like, just leave it blank at a protest, because that gets counted. They know if you vote for like Senate and shit and don't vote for president, you vote with your feet, you move states. They count all that shit. Just because I didn't vote for president, but as long as I show up with a ballot, even if I pick nobody on the whole thing,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Well, I told you I wrote Ron Paul's name in there at least once, and he wasn't even on the ballot. So,
No, that's not bad. I might put Ron Paul in.
so
definitely
again, people are
gonna
going to
vote
argue that. Go ahead.
The my U.S. Senate dude is up. This guy Bob Casey, and he's a fucking moron. And I see his commercials. He's lying about. He's a stagflation Bidenomics pusher. Like, it's real.
He's a libertarian.
No.
Oh,
He's my current Senate guy, but he's up for re-election this year. He's a Democrat. He's a fucking moron.
Oh, okay. In your state, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm following now. Yeah, I just a lot of people, like, when you when you say, hey, I'm just not going to vote, or I'm just going to write somebody's name in there. Oh, well, you're just wasting your vote, which is
It's not a waste of a vote.
No, it's definitely not. I'm voicing my opinion, and the options that you gave me, I don't like any of them, so I'm just not going to partake. So that's my argument for that.
I've had this conversation with people before too, and there is the lesser of two evils, or whose vote is actually wasted when you vote for the two-party system and yada yada yada. It ain't my vote that's wasted when you do all the fucking thing. I mean, I'm not the one who's convinced the two-party system's a real thing. Like,
Yeah.
what changes?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to agree. So,
You vote for. Sorry, my dog just moved, so I lost myself for a second.
we
I
haven't
don't
seen
know
Piper
what
yet.
about
Where you at, Piper?
She's on the. I'm trying to bait her with that toy, but she's not coming up.
I'm sure she will eventually.
Yeah, the lesser two evils, wasting a vote. There's no such thing as a wasted vote, and I had the argument before, and I don't remember my side of it, all the details to have it make sense to anybody right now. But next time, I'll make a note and we can talk about the a wasted vote next time.
Well, again, like you said, I don't think there's a thing. Like we all have our
Yeah, but I
opinion,
can,
right? And
I'll send, I will back up the argument a little bit with
well, it's kind
some
of
interesting
subjective, don't you think?
information. What happened?
The argument, it's subjective. Like you don't really need any solid evidence to back up what you're saying, right?
Yeah, but you'll see. Let me bring it up, and it'll make sense to you because I'm just babbling about it right now,
That's fair.
and I'm not making any sense. Besides, the lesser of two evil argument is still evil.
So I'm gonna be honest here. Again, I don't even like Trump, but
No, I'm not going for
I
him.
do have some semblance of sympathy for this guy. I mean, they're just watching what's been happening to him, not just with this trial, but just over the last few years. You know,
Yeah, I
and I
agree with that.
really go ahead.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I really do have to ask myself, right? Like before this guy even decided to run for the first the president the first time, right? Back in what was it, 2015 or whatever it was when he announced
Yeah.
his you know, so I look at it and I say, all right, well, this guy literally has everything. This guy has money, he has fame, like he's going down in the history books regardless. Find somebody on the planet that's never heard of Donald Trump before.
He was a darling of the left before.
Yeah, his last name is now been like inducted into our vocabulary over the past few decades. Like, oh, my Trump card, or oh, that trumps this. So
Yeah, but
again,
that's old. That's from cards.
oh, I always thought it came from his name.
No, Trump is from cards.
Oh, I didn't even know that. But
I bet
and
it's
it,
probably. I want to. If I had to guess what game, I want to say bridge, but you use it in spades. It's a trump card.
yeah, but spades was recently invented. Bridge is old. So if bridge has had the term
I
Trump
don't know how old
prior,
spades is, but
I
even
don't
in
know.
hearts. Hearts is trump.
It's fair.
Euchre is trump card. Yeah,
Well, it's possible that I mixed that up. At least but again,
he's
he
mad.
was going.
They loved him before. Everyone loved him. The left definitely
Regardless,
loved him.
he was going down in the history books, and obviously still is for whatever reason, good, bad, somewhere in the middle, whatever. So I kind of ask myself, like, well, this guy literally had everything before he ran the first time. Like, why would he do this? Because again, they've literally been trying to destroy this guy, and by I say they, I mean the mainstream. Every single thing that comes out of this guy's mouth, and again, a lot of it is just nonsense. I can't say I agree with a lot of what he says, but the way that they attack him, and the way now they're trying to, bankrupt him, imprison him. How much money did he just pay, or he's supposed to pay in that
Well,
last trial?
I think they reduced that, and they can still appeal it and shit. I think.
Yeah, but the
Yeah, no, I'm
fact of
with
the
you. I'm with
matter
you.
is, what? This is crazy. I mean, this guy was having to pay out whatever it was, a tenth of his wealth, which is to somebody, which is nuts. Even in a civil trial, whatever it is.
But that was all
So,
bullshit too.
so in any case, he does have. Yeah, I've heard that too. And I think doesn't he even claim that he never even met that woman before?
Oh, I don't
I
know.
don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't say what transpired or what didn't transpire.
I can't keep up with all the hoopla.
But yeah, in some way, he does have some of my sympathy for, just for enduring what he's been
Yeah, like
enduring.
I
And
said,
I don't even like the guy, but he does have some of my sympathy.
that's what. Yeah, I'll defend the guy when I think he's getting railroaded.
Yeah, I
But
think he's getting railroaded.
Yeah, but he's railroad. He railroaded himself with him never getting my vote with his just policy alone.
That's fair. That's fair. So anyway, yeah, I said we would only talk about it for a few minutes, and
I
here
know,
we are,
but listen,
like 20
he
minutes in.
started. He started all the COVID shit. He spent all that money, and then with Biden, the first couple of years spending on top of it, it was the largest transfer of wealth from the middle class to the rich in history.
I,
That's what happened with all that inflation.
I told my
They
family that
stole
yesterday.
they stole everybody's money. No one ever talks about that. That's what it was.
Yeah, mostly from the boomer generation, if I
No,
understand correctly.
yeah, well, not really. It went up the line. Middle
Well,
class.
sure.
Middle class.
Well, the middle class is being destroyed. If nobody's been paying attention to this, I mean, again, like you just said, the wealth gap.
That's actually incorrect.
Oh, okay. Then I've read otherwise. Can you talk about it for a minute?
Yeah. Anthony Davies is. I listen to his podcast all the time. Words and Numbers. Greatest shit in the world. He's a professor from Duquesne. He might not be one anymore, but he was. Anyway, he does a great presentation on Learn Liberty, and he's written about it multiple times. That if you, he brings the graph up, right, and it's like poor, middle, rich. and the numbers over the last like 10 years, 10 years, 10 years. You know what I mean? So there's like 4 columns in each column. You feel me?
Yes.
So the poor is getting lower, the middle class is getting lower, but the rich is going up. The biggest space in the money is the super rich versus the rich. More people are getting rich because of inflation and people are making more money and all that crap that goes with it.
Right.
But the wealth is moving away to the toppest of percentage. So more people are becoming rich, technically, according to the numbers.
Gotcha. So yeah, I guess that would be like a good analogy would be like like a basketball player, like how much they make versus how much the owner of the team is actually worth.
Well, that's the game.
So
That's
yeah,
just,
the basketball player, the star player is obviously rich, but he's not nearly as rich as the owner of the team, for example. It's like two
oh
entirely
yeah.
different tax brackets. Just to break it down. In any case, yeah. So yeah, what do you want to talk about today?
Um,
Unless
I
you
was
want to
gonna bring.
continue on the wealth gap for a bit more, we can. I don't know much about it, so it'll be
No.
mostly
If you
you.
want me to get into that, I'll have to get some more shit for you because I'm. Do you know what the I was going to talk about? Do you know what the broken windows theory is? You ever hear that? The broken window theory and how it's good.
No.
Well, it's not good, but it's something that the Keynesians would use. So it's an old Democrat liberal argument that like if you break a window, if a window gets broken, right? Someone comes to fix that window. That's a job for that dude, and someone had to make the glass, and that's a job for that guy, and all the way down the line, right?
Hmm.
But nobody ever remembers that you broke some poor asshole's window, and he had to pay for it. So that's a negative for him. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this is
So
one of
it's
those
good
things
for
like,
everybody involved except for the dude whose window got
except for the
broken.
dude who got beat. Yeah,
Right.
but like I got into the MMT thing because I was that stupid documentary that has come out. Everybody's just loving it.
What is it?
That it's an MMT documentary and
What's MMT?
monetary theory.
I know I haven't heard of it.
It's that deficit spending doesn't matter. Did I tell you about this the other day?
Yeah, you spoke
Okay, yeah,
to
well, that's the theory that deficit spending doesn't matter. That you're putting the money in and taking it out with taxes, which is just fucking ridiculous when you think about it. So, whatever I had seen, I was trying to like figure out in my head, right? So I'm like, I went through the "Am I right?" thing, because I was trying to figure something out. So I started watching pro MMT videos of like normally things I would watch, but like from the other side, so to try to get like that perspective.
hmm
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, what? Like, what makes no sense? That makes no sense. How do you, like, you know what I mean? Like, they keep building up these things, and when you try to figure out, it doesn't make any fucking sense. So I had to, like, get back to reality to see how MMT was wrong. So I just went down this ridiculous hole about it. Because that's just what I fucking do. But, do you know what because, all right, here's a couple of problems with the MMT, right? Two big things right off the bat. They don't understand what money is, and they don't understand inflation. So, like, think about back in the day. Like, what is money? What is money really? It's just a medium of exchange that we use to represent the value of something else, right?
Yeah, it's an IOU
Value,
note.
right, is an IOU. Value is created, right? You can't just fucking print it. You know what I mean?
Right.
What is this? What is this? Where's all the money?
That's as good as money, sir. Those are IOUs.
Because, like you were saying the other day, it's based on something like gold or silver or.
Well, that's what the medium of exchange ended up being. But back in the day, it's called the coincidence of double wants. So if I grow potatoes and you grow apples, and I want apples and you want potatoes, bingo bango, we can make a trade. But if you don't want the apples or the potatoes and you want fucking shoes or a table saw, you know what I mean? They have to come up with something that everybody
Could trade
can
with.
use.
Right, right,
Right. So they base it off of gold and yada yada yada.
right. Which does make sense, obviously.
Right. But the value is created when people do the actions. That's how value works. Like you put in the time and you take scarce resources, put them into two cheaper scarce resources, put them together that you can sell for something else. Sometimes people work for you. Sometimes you do it all by yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
Okay.
Like you said, the value in creating something like, oh, I'm being paid by the hour to do
Right.
this job, whatever
the-
this is.
so the
Or I don't
theory-
get paid by the hour, but I get paid by every, whatever basket that I make or whatever it is. So, I made 1,000 baskets today, so I'm going to make more
Right,
money.
and you get the value because all they are is a bunch of IOUs, and so instead of exactly like you said, and then they use the gold to be the worth of the IOUs instead of actually being IOU or fucking back massage or whatever it might be.
Which does make sense because, again, if you have a whole lot of, money and that money was actually gold, you can't carry that around. I mean,
Right.
what do you,
But
you
the-
know,
yeah,
you say you're buying
money-
a car, you're going to bring a, you can't do that. So they came up with this system, which is basically just pieces of paper to act as IOU notes.
But think about this: that barter system comes up in every scenario that you can think of. Right? What happens in prison? There's no cash. What do they use?
Cigarettes.
Cigarettes
Drugs.
or coffee
Yeah.
or contraband,
Or
right? Or
maybe
they or
sex.
not contraband. We'll use contraband too, but like commissary.
Yes.
They'll
yes,
use
yes.
for like honey buns and
Yeah, yeah,
fucking
yeah.
ramen and shit.
Yeah,
right?
I'll give you my Pop Tarts if you. Yeah, exactly.
So that median of exchange happens everywhere, no matter what the scenario. You know, people will
Right.
barter.
Well, yeah, even going back to before currency was invented, you kind of touched on it earlier. Hey, I have
Yeah.
cattle, so I can give you milk, but I don't have any eggs. So if you can give me some of the eggs from your chicken, I'll give you milk and we can do business. But yeah,
Yeah,
obviously,
but then I have too many eggs, and I can't find somebody who wants, like who doesn't want the eggs. They'll just go bad. You know what I mean? You
right.
have to.
Well, and the value also goes down because you have so much supply, but there's no demand for them.
Well, they mean less to me. So, like, what
Sure,
you're saying is you value these goods and services more than this dollar, or vice versa.
Right.
Right.
That makes sense.
So they don't understand, like, the fiat money is they think, like, the money itself, the bills are like I was telling you, like, it floods the system. Do you know what I mean? What I'm trying to say, like, you're putting it on the wrong side of the equal sign.
Yeah,
So
they're devaluing the money because there's not enough gold to support all of those IOU notes. That
Well,
they just,
even without the gold, even on like the fiat money, because now we're not backed by gold anymore.
yeah,
We're
the
backed
credit
by-
or whatever. We don't have enough
yeah, we're
credit to
backed
cover
by-
all those IOU notes we just printed, or
Yeah,
we
we're
do,
back-
but it just devalues them. So yeah,
Right, but we're backed by fiat money. It's not backed by anything. It's backed like on the word of the government.
right,
MMTers will think that government spending and adding those dollars into the system is a good thing. And you still have to pay taxes because taxes take the money out and the government spending puts the money in. But the money, it doesn't have anything behind it. So you're just putting more dollars that already represent your screw with the exchange rate. You know what I mean?
yeah.
With the
I think I'm following you.
with the equality or whatever I want to say exchange rate, but I think I'm missing a word. But you're with me.
Yeah, I think I'm following you. So
Okay. Go ahead.
So-
If you got a question, ask a question.
well, no, I mean, because you kind of touched on this in the last episode when we were talking about the Fed, where basically when overprinting money, or having too much money and not having enough value, whatever it is, credit, gold, whatever you want to call it, to back it up, devalues the money, which ultimately puts us in a higher in more debt.
Yeah, but to pay, what happens is that when the government influx that money and buys whatever the fuck they buy, right? Whatever they spend the money on, doesn't matter. The first people to get that money, whether it be if they're building ditches and highways, then the money's going to go to ditches and highway people. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then they spend it at today's prices, so they get everything on the cheap because they have the extra influx of cash. But as that flows into the system, the prices will rise.
Okay, and then
And
the money's
the-
not as valuable anymore.
And the value, right? So the money you have in your bank account has lost value.
Gotcha. So rising costs and lowering value of
Right.
money results in harder
So,
times for whoever those citizens are.
right, but the problem is what they're missing has to do with what they think money is. They think they can just print more bills, that it isn't the same. That it's okay, like it doesn't have an effect on inflation. So they don't understand the origin of money and what money represents, and inflation. And you can get deeper into that. I got a great video for that one too. It was I'll send it to you if you want to link it up later.
Yeah,
to
I'll
the
put it in
bottom.
I'll put it in the
Yeah,
links in
yeah.
the description.
Great video. And it's only like 15 minutes long, and it just busts up MMT because it's when you figure out how it's ridiculous, it's just fucking ridiculous.
I mean, obviously, I don't know nearly as much as you do on the topic of just economics as a whole. I understand basic supply and demand. I understand basically how the currency system works, but it's just the basics.
Oh,
So,
bring up the picture. Bring up the picture of the tally stick. We'll talk about the tally sticks. So tally sticks that you're about to bring up, they used in England back in the day. Up until like 1830, they used them up until 1826. Actually, some dude bought his way into the Bank of England with tally sticks. That's a true
I
story.
remember learning about this in the video that you sent me about the
Okay, so
history of
tally
currency.
sticks basically it's a piece of wood that like breaks easy, and then you put a bunch of notches in it, and the notches mean a value. And you would split the stick in half, so you could use that stick as money, but the bank or whoever had the other stick, and they used that shit for tax purposes and understanding where money went through saving the sticks, right?
Right.
So it's funny because so they had all these sticks in the bottom of Parliament, all these fucking tally sticks, thousands, hundreds of thousands of tally sticks in the basement of Parliament. So they decided to burn them on October 6, 1834. They burnt down half of Parliament.
Wow.
Yeah, chimney fire.
So they burned down the tally sticks, but so I'm assuming they had another currency in place that they wanted to roll out.
Oh yeah, well by then the Bank of England was already involved. So you had central banking.
And I do remember you saying in the last episode that the Bank of England is very large and has been around for a long time.
It's one of the oldest central banks.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Um,
Well,
what else is? And here's this is. I'm gonna try to explain this, but it's algebra in a way, but it's not when you understand how to read it. So another problem that MMTers use quite often, and politicians in general do this. You fudge the numbers. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You play with the numbers until it gives you the result that you want, and then you back up your results based on those numbers.
It's manipulating
you-
science right there. Or
Right, so when
manipulating
you-
mathematics in this case. Go ahead.
When you're trying to judge how the economy, what the economy's telling you, you know, what prices tell you as a person, as a business owner, as a stock market, whatever. The more information you put into these algebraic formulas to find like the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, or all the other stuff they use to judge how the economy is doing, the more numbers and stuff you put in, you can learn more about it. So the equation for CPI is a bunch of letters equals a bunch of letters. Okay?
Okay.
But then you can like take the C's out and they cancel each other out, and then algebraic shit happens, right?
Yep.
So all those little things you take out is information of what you should know. So you're getting falsified numbers right there.
Yeah, I understand that.
So the formula that they use, and if you want to double check my numbers or my magic, watch the video. So I forget what the letters mean, but it ends up being G minus T equals S minus I, which I think is probably government taxes. I don't know. I forget what it means, but that's what they take there's a much larger formula and break it down to these simple things, and it lines up with how their guerrilla math works. So if you fudge the numbers, you can make it show what you want. Once the light clicks and you figure out what the little scam is, where the missing piece with just what doesn't make sense in the end, it becomes clear as day.
Well, it seems everything you just said seems quite obvious to what they're doing right now, right? So you turn on the 6 o'clock news and they're telling you the economy's booming. From my understanding, Wall Street is booming, but the economy, I mean, like the average kid now graduating college, right? 22, 23, 24, just out of college. There's most of these people are not going to be able to buy a home. And if they are, it's not going to be anytime soon.
Well, that's for a whole multiple of reasons, mostly being inflation.
Yeah, but the cost of everything is all jacked up. You know, again, the average cost of a home is going to be unattainable for a lot of Americans, especially the younger generations. Then you got car prices. I mean, there's just so much. And these people are on the surface are like, oh no, the economy's great. Well, it might be great for you because you guys have millions of dollars, but for the average American to say that it's great, it's almost like a slap in the face.
It depends on how you read the numbers, what numbers you're reading. Like, you can go scroll back through my Facebook for ages. I've been busting Biden on this fake job numbers for like a year and a half. They're all been bullshit reports because you can, again, fudge the numbers because this guy doesn't count as unemployed and this guy counts as employed, but he's out of the system because he hasn't looked in over 6 months. And you don't count, we've lost more full-time jobs and added part-time jobs. And there's less people working now than there were under Trump. So when he's like, unemployment's at the lowest it's ever been, maybe that's true. But when you fudge the numbers and take out a huge portion of the demographics that affect the number, you get the number you want. And they do it all the time. Republicans do it too. It just depends on what issue they're arguing about.
Yeah, they're fudging the stats. So I actually took a stats course in college, and we used this program. I don't know if they still use it, called SPSS.
No, I didn't have to do any of that shit. I'm like a theory dude.
This was really involved. It was definitely out of my league. I don't know how the hell I passed that class. But I do remember using this SPSS program, right, where they would give you some data, right, and you had to input it in, and then you make like a little graph out of it, like a skew or whatever. But yes, if you omit data, it will absolutely affect the scientific data that comes out at the end. And like you said, you can basically manipulate it. Oh, nice. Actually, I have that book. Somebody bought it for me. But I still have it. It's in my closet somewhere. But yeah, so you can very easily just fudge your end results just by omitting just one little, piece of data, which, is obviously highly frowned upon in the science community. And somebody will eventually put that together, and then you'll be...
Right, but it doesn't, not in politics. Politics is
different. No, not in politics. Well, and science is supposed to be like observable, like indisputable. This is the data. You can't argue it. But nowadays, when politics gets involved in science, just like what happened with COVID, unfortunately, we're not getting like actual true science. We're simply getting whatever the hell they want us to get, which in many cases is not the truth. I'm sorry.
Austrian economics is based off, like I told you, praxeology.
Okay.
Right? The study of action, study of human action, yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
So... you got your little sciencey thing because it just, like I said, it's just the study of human action.
Yeah. Well, when you put people in positions of power, what's that old saying? Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Power corrupts and something corrupts absolutely.
I think it's absolute power corrupts absolutely.
No, the last word's absolutely. I'll tell you that much.
Maybe I'm misremembering it. But in any case...
I feel like an idiot now. Everyone's probably, who's ever actually watching this, probably like, you guys are fucking morons.
Oh, that's all right. They can say whatever they want about us. That's free speech. At least in my opinion, they can say whatever
this
they want.
This is an old saying. It bothers me. It's like a brain fart saying.
All right, man. We're human beings. Stuff happens. But yeah, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, go ahead. Whatever the hell you were talking about, I forget. I wasn't really paying attention to you.
Yeah, now you got me losing my train of thought. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to trust some of the science that they're telling us nowadays. I don't even want to get into all this, but did you hear Bill Gates recently with one of the reasons why global warming is occurring is because cows fart too much?
That's an old one.
Is it? There you go.
Yeah, that's
I don't
old.
care if it's old or new. It's fucking ridiculous. So, yeah. So, yeah. Again, is that true science, Bill? Because cows have been around for a long time. We never had a problem with global warming before. So, yeah, blame the cows, I guess. But this is stuff that's out in the mainstream media, and they expect, people to believe this, and I think many of them do. That's crazy. Show me the scientific data where it tells me that now our planet is overrun with cows and they're farting too much, so now we have to cut the cow population to save everything else on this planet. That's fucking
I
ridiculous.
forget exactly what the argument is, but yeah, it's something like that.
It's deeper than that. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but I'm gonna leave it there. There's other reasons why Bill Gates wants to do that, but I'll leave that alone for now.
Well,
Anyway.
this is a lot, and he's part of the World Economic Forum.
He is.
Which is the,
And and
and he owns all the farmland. He owns all the damn farms.
he does, which ties kind of into that, and not kind of into that. It ties directly into that, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about that another day because that's pretty involved, and it really it has to do with future human diets.
All right.
Go
Let's
ahead.
just move on. Let's just move on because we always come. I always end up coming back to fucking federal banks anyway, or central banks because they're the root of all evil. But so I got one for you. Today in history, right? In 1903, on this day, was the Treaty of. I should have you bring this up. Vereeniging?
Reneging?
No, Vereeniging. Anyway, it's the end of the Boer War in South Africa between when the Brits lost South Africa.
Yeah, the
Boer
Brits.
Wars.
Oh, I don't know. The Dutch settled South Africa.
I don't know.
initially,
I guess
right?
because I'm a military history person, I just think people know the Boer Wars. The Boer War beat the animal BOAR. There was two tribes that teamed up to get the Brits out of South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was
Yeah,
my day. That was
I
my
didn't
fun
know
fact
that.
of day in history. I think I'm gonna bust you every time we have a show. I'll get you a day in history, Paul. I'll tell
Hey,
you
that's
what happened.
cool. I love random facts. It's fun. You
Well,
remember?
usually-
Remember the? I don't even. Snapple's still around. You remember Snapple?
Double facts. Yeah.
Yeah, the little facts. It was a lot of the times they got me. I would sometimes I would buy a Snapple just because I wanted to read because I like learning.
I had me too. It was at my old job when I worked in Monmouth Junction, right? And I was doing processing for loans, but I was just doing bullshit paperwork, right?
Yeah.
And it was so unbelievably stupid that I would just play on the internet all day, right? So I would go on Wikipedia, and they have if you search it right, you can be every single battle they have a thing on in alphabetical order, Stalingrad, the Battle of this, the Battle of Hastings Bridge, the battle, you know what I mean? Every little battle, all the way back to they have all the history. So I used to just go through all the battles and read about them. And I would barely do any work. I worked there for 7 months, and I had to look up the stupid GPS number, that had to get put on a dead loan that never turned into anything. But it turns out that and there were so many piles and piles. I could never gotten through it with 10 people. And then it turns out that all the work was a waste of time and they didn't even matter. So no matter how much I slacked off, it ended up just being a whole bullshit thing anyway.
That happened to me in one of my jobs. It was same shit. It was a silly desk job. I won't ramble on about it, but yeah, it was basically the same thing where I only really had maybe an hour or two of actual work on an 8-hour shift. So yeah, I spent probably about 5 or 6 hours just surfing the internet. Mostly
I walk
gaming sites
in
or
just so
whatever.
Lumberg can't see me.
Yeah, yeah.
Just enough not to get fired.
Hi, Bob. Bob.
Space out?
Yeah, I just stare at my desk. But it looks like I'm working. I do that for probably another hour after lunch, too. I'd say in a given week, I probably only do about 15 minutes of real, actual work.
Oh, that movie's awesome.
I remember like my ADD would kick in, and like I'd think about. I remember one day I did all the Friday 13ths. I read through all the plots of all the Friday 13ths and all like the history and the background of all the Friday 13ths. I did it for like 2 days in a row until I finished them all.
So you finished it. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing much of the same stuff, like reading entire forums on whatever topic I was researching at the time.
Yeah, see, I didn't fuck with that shit. My wife always screws with like Reddit. She shouldn't do Reddit shit. I never. The only time I ever used Reddit is to get the link to crack streams.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll leave that alone. But yeah. So well, the forums for me was mostly like gaming sites and stuff, So I'd go down a rabbit hole on a game and figure out everything about the plot and what everybody else's interpretation on the plot was.
I would do that too.
Because I didn't have anything else to do.
You used to screw with the internet. Do you know who Ross Ulrich is? At the LP convention, they all had free Ross, and Trump said he'd free Ross.
Yeah, because I didn't know who he was, but I heard Trump mention him the other day. He's kind of like a Julian Assange, from what I understand.
No, he invented the Silk Road on the dark web.
Oh, he's the dude that that the FBI or whatever busted.
Yeah.
And, yeah. I watched a documentary on that actually. So yeah, I am familiar with him.
Yeah, Ross Ulrich. Interesting story. So basically the Silk Road was a dark net Amazon almost, but you could get dark net type things like pills and drugs and guns. I never really looked into it, but I know it was what the dark net does for you.
Yeah, I'm a little familiar with it, but I've never been on it. But yeah, I hear you can basically get anything.
Look, I understand. My knowledge of computers is fucking zero. I don't understand how any of this shit works. I don't know coding. I can't. I've watched it. I've even watched videos on like YouTube of like how to code in BASIC. I'm like, this is just. I don't get it.
That's
I don't get how all these little pieces work and how everything works together. I don't like all this complicated shit. All right.
That's a whole different avenue, coding.
I know John Connor.
Like I'm pretty good with computers, but coding's that's a whole different area, and I don't have any experience in it. It's all zeros and ones. That's what I know.
I was one of those dudes when it was like, how do you take a screenshot? And it's like, you slide your hand across the top, but it says wave your hand. So I'm holding my phone. I'm going like this. I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
This thing doesn't work. I want my money back.
Yeah, so I finally did it.
Well, everything has a learning curve, and computers are no different. But yeah, obviously, when you're gonna go down into like coding and stuff, yeah, it's a whole different ball game. I mean, you could be really good at browsing the internet and maybe using Windows, but when it comes to coding,
when I had to take that stupid computer class, like it was I needed a 1 credit for science, right, to get my degree at a county. I had like 1,000 credits, but I needed 1 more in math and science. So I took the best way to describe it is if you just did 30 years in prison, and this is back in like. When did I go back to school? Like 2010? Yeah, somewhere around there. Like if you just did 30 years in prison, this is how to use a computer. It was like search.
How to use a computer for dummies.
Yeah, it was like basic Excel. I couldn't even do the basic Excel. I had to have Alex do it for me.
So, like, yeah, when it comes to, like, stuff like that, I only knew Excel because that job that I worked at, where I was only actually doing about 2 hours of work a day, we had to use Excel. So somebody just taught me what I needed to do, and, I figured a bunch of stuff out along the way.
But I remember when I first got back into, like, back in the county, right, to finish the last few credits, the one professor was like, okay, you guys got to give a presentation in front of the class, so you got to use PowerPoint. And I'm like, what the fuck is PowerPoint? So I had to have my wife and my sister had to like teach me. But now I think PowerPoint's the greatest thing in the world. I give awesome presentations on a PowerPoint with the most basic of things.
Yeah, PowerPoint's great.
I'm good at PowerPoint. I can write a nasty paper and I can give a good presentation.
I believe it.
I was writing great papers.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, you're an intelligent fellow, and you're well spoken, so. I don't think speaking publicly has ever been an issue for you, at least.
Oh, I hate public. That was my worst class. Public speaking, that shit sucked.
No, but but I've seen you get up in front of a crowd of people, not deliver a speech, but I've seen you talk
Tell a story.
with people, surrounded by people, whatever you're talking about. Could be
Yeah.
nothing important, charisma, if you will. In any case,
Good storyteller.
yeah, you are. You got that skill. I don't think it's a skill that you can learn. You either
And I'm
have
handsome,
it.
which helps.
What's that?
I said I'm handsome, which helps. It's the glasses.
Easy, guys. He's married.
Guys. Well, yeah, guys too.
I meant guys as a whole, like,
I know
mankind,
what
if
you
you
meant,
will, as a
Paulie.
whole,
I know what you meant.
In any case, yeah, what were we talking about again?
How handsome I am?
Oh, right. All right. How could I forget that topic?
All right, well, let's go back to my list.
Your
before
beard
we-
game's strong. I'll give you that.
What I say? Oh, did you see Biden approved strikes into Greater Russia, Russia proper, whatever you want to call it?
No. What
All
kind
right,
of
well, one
strikes?
is in the beginning of the war. Remember, he was like, "It's just going to be money and money and bombs, right? No tanks, no airplanes, and no special artillery, and no all this other shit. No troops, blah 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 blah."
Yeah.
So they're like, "Oh, we're afraid to give you these artillery pieces, the HIMARS, because if you use them, they can strike into Russia. We're not trying to piss off Russia."
I remember that being a debate.
Right. So it went from money and guns to no tanks to no airplanes to airplanes to no hitting inside Russia to hitting inside Russia. And
So,
the war's lost. The war's lost for Ukraine. It's been lost.
Yeah, but
I
it's
don't know what the hell they're still
ahead.
doing.
so yeah. So it's just a slow progression into war. So like you said, it's just money. It's just money. Oh well, we'll send them a couple guns too. Oh, we'll send them some planes too. And so it's like a slow progression, slow escalation, if you will.
Well, the question is how is Putin going to react when HIMARS are hitting civilian or whatever target and Russian troops get killed?
Yeah. And how would you react? I mean, if those were your people and you were in charge of them, I know how I would. And
Well, technically, it's still Ukrainian shooting them,
yeah, but
but they have made the USA on them.
yeah, there's no way that the Russian people are that stupid that they think all of this is simply coming from Ukraine. Like, forget Putin. Like, even his citizens, like, they have to know that, NATO is heavily involved, the
Yeah,
UN.
but they're buying the weapons or whatever. So, but it's still the Ukrainians using them. It's not Americans firing the equipment
Right.
as of yet. But I mean,
As
the
of
French,
yet.
the French have advisors in there.
I saw that.
But you got to
French are
remember,
even talking about putting people on the ground, too, from
boots on the ground is different than advisors, and there's a big window in between, right?
Sure.
So boots on the ground is fucking troops, like a whole battalion, right? And then there's all the way down to an advisor. So think of Lafayette in the Civil War.
Okay.
Lafayette he was a Frenchman watching the war as like a independent advisor. Other countries watch other countries have war. They have their,
Right.
you know what I mean?
And maybe some of them have their own interests, too, so they may,
Well, yeah, like this is what the Americans did, and I watched them use the cannons and the artillery, and
yeah.
you have other people come. They use Lafayette. See, the perfect example.
Right.
And he comes out with a sword at the end and he saves the day. That's why he has a square at a train stop or a Lafayette Square. That Lafayette Square is right outside the front of the White House.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there's a statue of him on a horse.
Did you see, I don't know if this was Russia, Ukraine, or Israel and Palestine, but did you see Nikki Haley, the picture of her the other day? She's apparently signing something on a missile. And there's like a whole bunch of missiles in the background.
Yeah.
Fucking warmonger.
Oh, yeah.
And
it
the
was
caption
probably-
was that she was writing "finish them" on it.
It doesn't matter what she's writing.
It doesn't. It doesn't. But even if that's true, who the fuck is this bitch?
I mean, I would really be less upset if a bomb hit me because Nikki Haley wrote like "best of luck" on it. You know what I mean?
Like you'd even see it anyway, because you'd
at
be
least
dead.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This fucking woman, man.
They care.
What a poor excuse for a human being she is. And even better, she endorsed Trump now too. Did you see that?
Oh, she has to. Well, it's funny because
She doesn't have to.
My original
But she
thing
did.
with her, like, remember after the primary, she stayed in, right? Because, or whatever, she stayed in longer than she should have because her theory was, if Trump gets locked up, I'll be the one. And then it looked like Trump wasn't going to get in any trouble. And she eventually dropped out, and now she lost that position because now Trump actually got convicted.
Do you think that was her theory?
See how that goes. But that was my theory why she stayed in.
Oh, your
Even-
theory. Oh, yeah, yeah.
They hated her.
Oh, definitely, definitely. She was going to ride that train as long as they were going to continue to fund that train. And
Yeah.
the real question is, why were they continuing to fund it when they already knew it was a lost cause?
Because she's more of the same. She's a typical Republican. The only thing Trump,
Go ahead.
yes, she's
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
a
Yeah, yeah,
warmonger.
that's fair.
She is a neocon. She will
Yeah.
attack. She will back the Israelis. She will back Ukraine. She will push NATO farther.
Yeah.
Military.
And then
industrial.
when that's all said and done, then she'll find somebody else that we
There'll be
need to
somebody-
blow
there'll be
up and
somebody else.
destroy. Because
It'll be somebody else.
she's such
There'll
a good
probably be a
person.
country that tries to use a different currency and will just find a way to attack them.
yeah, and we'll probably provoke them or antagonize them first, so that we can blame it on them and say it was their fault. Oh, look what they did! They killed our American soldiers. Never mind the fact that
Remember the Maine.
Yeah. Don't it's so crazy. And we were kind of talking about it earlier, like where you mentioned with Hillary's emails, because this is what the mainstream media does. They basically run distraction after something comes up in the news and they don't like it and it hits the mainstream media. We immediately need the next big story so that we can bury this shit. It's almost like, oh look, a squirrel, and it works. And it
Yeah,
works.
it's like cue the school shooting.
Yeah, what's going on in Lahaina? Has anybody checked back with Hawaii? Because I'm pretty sure those people, nothing has happened. But again, the mainstream media doesn't want us talking about that stuff, so we need other things to cover up that story so we can push it to the bottom and not talk about it. And again, that's just one small example. What's up with the Boeing guy? Haven't seen him recently, or either of
Well, the one
Boeing
guy got
guys.
whacked out. Or actually, the one
Two of
dude
them-
looks like he actually might have.
Two of them died. One of them almost certainly got whacked, and then the other
Yeah.
one,
Is
it's suspect. I don't know.
also, yeah, there's like a letter and shit. or
Yeah,
whatever.
but again, that was big news. What happened to the bridge in Baltimore? Again, same thing. The last I heard was like a week ago. That bridge is still the
it's gonna
boat.
be down. It's gonna be down for a minute.
Maybe, I don't know the engineering,
No, it-
but what
it has
happened to
to.
the story? It's gone.
What are you gonna say? You're gonna say it's still down?
Yeah. Oh, by
They're
the
just
way, in
doing-
we haven't. Apparently, the people were trapped on the boat. Did you hear that? That the crew members were trapped on there, or that they? Excuse me, I heard that they refused to let them off the boat until they sat them down for questioning. Whatever the hell that
Yeah,
is, whoever
I'm-
questioned them.
I'm
But
guessing there's probably some sort of investigation, and then when that happens, it'll pop back up, and some real journalist decides to take a look.
if that's how you see it, I see that as, hey, we need to come up with a story. Let's let's distract them while we're coming.
Well,
to the, Go
okay,
ahead.
if you're the reporter for the what's Superman's paper, the Globe.
Something like that. It's the Daily Bugle, or is that Spider-Man? I think it's. I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, and your job is to cover the bridge. You need to write a story every single day. Like this
No,
shit
not
doesn't-
every day. But when did this happen? A month ago? 2 months ago?
I'm sure if you Google it, I follow this dude
Of-
on YouTube.
Of course, I can just Google it. Go ahead.
His channel is what's going on with shipping. It's Sal, and some Italian last name, but he's like a merchant marine. He was part of like administrations advising on merchant marine shipping shit. So the
Right.
dude's an expert. He actually started I found him when he started the channel when that boat blocked the Suez Canal.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
He
yeah.
just started making a channel and talking about it, and now his channel kind of blew up. But I mean, again, who watches what's going on in shipping besides me?
You do.
know what I mean?
Obviously,
Like,
other
no,
people
yeah.
do too. Yeah. Yeah. Again, this is just one example, but it's just I'm just using it as trying to explain how the MSM actually works. you know. So yeah, something comes up, they don't want to talk about it, they don't like it, it makes them look bad, whatever. Oh, look, a squirrel. That's how
Well,
it
what
works.
happened? What happened on November 10th?
November 10th?
Right, the day before 9/11.
What happened on November?
Rumsfeld said that the Pentagon lost
You mean
track
September
of like
10th?
six. Oh, sorry, yeah, September 10th.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Rumsfeld said what?
Rumsfeld gave a press conference and he said that the military or whatever has is the audit they can't account for like $6 trillion or something.
There you go. And then next day, 9/11. It's
Yeah.
convenient.
No one ever talked about it again.
Yep. Well, again, that just kind of proves my point. So yeah, that happens over and over again. And they've been doing this to us with, I mean, for years since we've been here. They've been doing this.
Oh, you're not on Facebook anymore, but there's a meme going around
Thankfully, no.
Since Trump got the verdict came in, and they're doing the upside down American
I
flag
saw that. Yeah.
for trouble, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't understand the meme. It took you this long to figure out that the government's whacked out.
For you
And
guys
I'm
are
like,
just discovering this?
You just
Yeah. Yeah.
go back before I was even born, and look at what the government did to its own people. They like sprayed bacteria at people in San Diego. They like released ticks in areas to see what would happen. They gave a bunch of people syphilis, you know what I mean, on purpose.
That's the Tuskegee experiments. And that went on for fucking decades, man.
And that's not reason enough to get mad at the government.
No, apparently not, And that Tuskegee experiment went on for fucking decades, man. All of those fucking people that they basically ruined, they ruined their lives. And many of their kids' lives, because, that shit's... Oh, my God, man.
And a lot of this shit's unclassified. My Operation Fill in the Blank, and you'll see some fucked up shit that our government has done to us.
Right. Yes, repeatedly. It's like, I was saying something, who was I?
I was talking about acid trips. Way worse than acid trips.
Well, there's also MK Ultra too, which again is public information. You can look it up now. It's declassified. Not all of it, but
Right,
some
well,
of it. But we can at least acknowledge factually that there was a program in the CIA called MK Ultra that used drugs and other things to work on mind. And I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. They tested truth serums on people all the time.
Yeah, among other things.
Yeah, but not just MK Ultra. They were testing truth serums in general.
Oh, yeah. Well, they even tried to give ecstasy, I believe, if I recall correctly, was invented back in like the 40s or some shit. And they actually tried to weaponize it and use it for...
MDMA.
MDMA, yeah. They actually tried to weaponize it and use it for troops because they were hoping, hey, it'll, boost people. They'll go in there, but obviously that didn't pan out because it's more of a love drug. But at least that's what I heard. And I heard they tried doing the same thing with acid as well. LSD, if you will. But again, I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that. Yeah, the government, man, the wonderful, benevolent government that has done terrible things to us, as far back as, 100 years ago. And don't worry, guys, I'm sure that they've mended their ways and that they actually really do care about us now. And that they, they're going to be a good government going forward. Anybody who believes that, I'm sorry, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Basically. So, I guess what else do I have on here? Oh, bring up the picture of the place in Europe, the estate.
Oh, these states.
So I heard some stupid law the other day, and this is what got me into this rabbit hole we're about to talk about. And it's silly.
So he's got me pulling all these pictures up, and I have no idea where any of this is going, so...
Right, because it's ridiculous. You can't just have it in a separate window, click, and the thing just pops up. I don't understand what the hell you're doing over there.
Hey, man, I'm an amateur.
Doesn't matter. Don't get me off topic.
Heard. Go.
So the law has to do with I think it was on one of the gardening things that I follow, like how to the transfer plants and shit like that.
Okay.
And it had to do with how much lawn space do you have to have on your front yard in some places. Like, you can't turn your front yard into a garden everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, there's laws about this shit. So sometimes in certain states, counties, towns have all different ordinances about it. So it really depends on where you live.
Even developments, HOA and all that other stuff.
Right, right. So you have to have a certain amount of lawn space, but some places will let you turn your place into a garden if they don't have the rules. So I've seen some really nice ones.
Right.
So I went down the whole of why did we have lawns in the first place? You know what I mean?
No, I'm
And like
curious. Why do we have lawns in the first place?
well, it started with to graze cattle, you have to lower the fields. They can't just eat the tall grass. It doesn't work. So for cattle grazing, that's why they walked around with the scythe. What is it?
Scythe? Yeah.
Scythe. The big here. Put that up.
Yeah, the thing that the Grim Reaper carries.
Yeah. So they would have to use that thing to clear the field so the cattle could graze. I got notes for this shit, actually.
I do apologize. I had to do this in some weird way, which is why it's taking me so long to pull these up.
So basically, my original question was like, why do people cut their grass? And then I found out it was for the farmers to
be able to raise the cattle.
For the grading. So that European house that we showed before, right? Because it had the lawn. Back in the day, when it was all fields, they used to rent it out to farmers or to the cattle people, and they were just responsible for the lawn, so they would trim the lawn. And then rich estates started being like, I'm so rich that I don't need to rent my property out. I can manicure my lawn. That's kind of how it started, as a, like keeping up with the Joneses type of thing.
Right.
So then, like after World War I and World War II, because I mean they were doing this shit for years, like when they had those big ads, like the County of Monte Cristo type shit.
Right. Right.
So eventually, after the World Wars, it kind of came back over here, when having a manicured lawn was like a sign of pristine or wealth. You know what I mean? Like you kept a well manicured yard, and you were like a proper American dream person. You know what I mean? Every Saturday,
like the image, yeah.
you mow your lawn. But again, it's back-breaking work. So a lot of people didn't do that shit.
Okay.
And again, back in the day, a lot of houses were like there weren't these huge developments. Houses were closer to roads. So
a lot of people don't do that nowadays, too. By the way, but go ahead.
Right, but the developments weren't necessarily the way they are now. Like a lot of houses were closer to the road. You'd have a backyard,
Right.
so it wouldn't be weird to have like shrubs or trees or whatever the hell you do when you drive your thing through the woods and build your house. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then put the picture of the little kid mowing the lawn. This little invention changed the world. The push mower.
Oh, it's not a little kid. We ran with the other image, but it's same concept.
Anyway, imagine a little kid using the push mower, the one with the blades.
Yeah, this is obviously gas powered, but it's
Yeah, okay.
same
Before
concept.
that.
Yeah. You're talking about the original lawnmowers that didn't use power.
Yeah, it was just the two wheels and the spirally blades.
I don't know if you could still buy them, but you used to be able to. I worked at Lowe's like 20 years ago, and we sold them. I don't know if they do now, but yeah. Go ahead.
guess
I'm sorry.
if you just feel like being fucking fancy. I was all about the mower with the back wheel.
Well, what if you don't want to pay for gas, or you're just eco-friendly?
True.
Then,
yeah, you're trying to save the environment, but I guess.
Yeah.
So basically, that's it. That's how we started mowing our lawns. But if you think about it, like, first of all, grass isn't even native here. The grass that we use, even Kentucky grass, isn't from Kentucky.
What do you mean?
The grass is not natural to North America.
But something was here, right? We had some kind of or not. Go ahead.
A squirrel could go from before we got here. A squirrel could go from the East Coast to the Mississippi River through the forest.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that there was no grass fields and it was really just covered in forest. But what about like the Great Plains and stuff?
That's the other side of the Mississippi.
Oh, duh. Yeah, fair. Okay, I got you. So basically, from the East Coast to the Mississippi, there wasn't very many grassy fields. It was mostly
swamps,
trees.
Whatever. Whatever.
Trees, swamps, forests.
The mountains from the Appalachians and all that shit. But
okay.
People didn't have yards like this. Go back and look in the pictures. They had fields that were usually like for grazing, or there was a farmer, or it was if you had property, you either had a whole bunch of woods or you were a farmer.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? People didn't have front lawns. Not like they do today because it was too much work to keep up until that mower came out, and then it became easier and easier. But like I said, the grass isn't even from the States. It's not natural. It's the most irrigated crop in America.
I believe
It's
that.
a crop that produces nothing for us.
Except looks nice. That's it.
Correct. You can't eat it. I mean, this was on the list, but you know, the pollution that it does to maintain it. The U.S. landscaping services is $100 billion industry in the United States.
Well,
They
that's
mean-
not really a bad thing, right? I mean, it's jobs, right?
Well, it's just yeah, okay, it's jobs, but again, like it depends on how you look at it.
Okay.
Like, could that space be used for something more efficient? Is it a wasted resource? Like,
Well-
why should you be allowed to grow a garden in your front yard? Because they want you to keep a pristine lawn?
It's a good point.
That's what made me look up in the first place. Like, why couldn't you do that to your own lawn?
Well, again, if you own the property, why can't you do what you want? And we know that
Well,
that's
just
not the
there's
case.
laws. Don't ask me why. Ask why there's the law.
No, I know. I'm just asking generally speaking, not that you have the answer for it. But yeah, you can't even dig a hole in your freaking backyard without a permit. Don't. And if you own the house, like, especially if you already paid your mortgage off, like, that's crazy to me. Like, I
you still get taxed
own
for it,
this
too.
thing. I do whatever I want. This is my dirt. Go ahead.
Anyway, so it's $100 billion service. So it's $100 billion a week. I don't know if you want to call it wasted or jobs on a crop
That doesn't do anything
produces
for us.
nothing. What happened?
A crop that doesn't do anything beneficial for us. Yeah.
And gets the most water out of any other crop in the country when you add all the lawns together.
I never thought of that. That's a really good point. Why do we spend so much time on grass when the only purpose is just for it to essentially look good?
And one crop cannot support an ecosystem. So you're taking up all this space with useless shit, which is was just the argument of the information I was getting. I was, like I said, I was just looking up why we cut our grass. And the last fun fact is 70 million pounds of chemicals are used on a lawn each year.
Wow.
70 million pounds of chemicals.
Wow.
Fucking Dr. Green Thumb's a real asshole.
But yeah, that's amazing. I actually fascinating. I never even thought about that before.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, we do spend a lot of money and a lot of time on grass. And
That's what happens, man. I'll hear something stupid and I'll look it up and I'm just like, I get into it.
no, it's a good thing, man. And
I figured I'd talk about grass.
yeah, it's pretty wild. And like you said, it doesn't even do anything necessarily for the ecosystem because, again, you have like insects and stuff. Well, if it's just grass, yeah, sure, insects live in it, but it's not like they're, flowers or anything for them to pollinate like bees or,
And it's not natural here.
So
If it
where
was
does the
nat-
grass, where does it come from originally?
The grass that we use for lawns
Yeah.
is from Europe or Africa.
No shit.
Yeah, Kentucky bluegrass is not native to America.
It's African Kentucky bluegrass. That's fascinating. I never knew that shit.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, ridiculous but fascinating at the same time.
Yeah. I just never actually, like I said, I'm just repeating myself, but
Yeah,
I just
so
never
that's
put that
what-
much thought into it.
So that's why when you see all those fancy old European estates with like the mazes and the shrubbery and all that crazy shit, it was a sign of how wealthy you are because you don't have to have your house surrounded in ugly fields.
Right. You can tell this person's got money because, well, look at their landscaping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I think and to some degree today, that maybe still exists.
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. When I worked landscaping or mowed my parents' yard, I kind of liked it when I did a good job. I'm like, that shit looks nice.
You're taking pride in your work, but
Get a little pride in my work.
yeah.
I get a nice lawn. I understand it. But I'd be just as happy if there's a bunch of trees in my front yard.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I worked landscaping on 2 separate occasions, and yeah, it's definitely a thing. And a lot of the houses that we cut were the fancy, wealthy houses. Sure, we cut the average house too, but the real money was, or at least for the bosses, was in the bigger lawns. And like you said, A lot of the
The
wealthier
Dozier,
people.
the Dozier's in the landscaping now, not the cuts.
Yeah, well, it was always there. So yeah, my boss would always be pushing, to, oh, you should, do this. You should let me mulch and plant some trees and, put these plants in. And because yeah, you're right. That's where the money really is. But yeah, that's fascinating.
Landscaping, that was ridiculous.
Uh,
None of it was my fault. I got beat for being on a bad crew. I always had a bad crew boss.
well, you worked with my man
Yeah.
Buff, right, for a while.
Yeah. He was a crew boss, and so was the our friend from Munchkinland.
Oh yeah.
He was my other crew boss. So no
That
matter
was a
how
bad
bad
experience
we
for
were-
you, because
No, it was fun for me.
oh,
but
let's
the
say I
boss,
had a blast. Go ahead.
the boss thought we sucked because we did suck.
Oh, the boss above them, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you now.
I was like on the shit crew, so no matter how good I did, it looked like I was on the shit crew.
Well, just based on your coworkers, that's enough said.
Yeah, and then once I realized that that was the game, I stopped caring a little bit. So then I was just like, I remember like my last day there. You all get there in the morning. And he's like, "Are you guys are in this truck? You guys are in that truck?" He gets to me. He's like, "Jeff, I didn't know you still worked here." I'm like, "You're right, I don't." And I just got back in my car and went home.
Wow,
Yeah.
what an exit! What an exit! That's funny. I actually have a good story about Buff. I have a lot of good stories about him, but there was
Yeah.
he was so we had the boss, and then Buff was right under the boss. He was like the second
Yeah, I know.
in charge.
I'm with you. I remember the boss.
Yeah, and Buff one day we're chilling and we're building a retaining wall, right? Or I should say we're rebuilding a retaining wall. Anyway, doesn't matter. So Buff, it's probably like 11, 12 o'clock. It's like the middle of the day, and I'm like all gung ho, I'm like ready to work. I'm in it. Like I'm moving the bricks. Like I'm sweating, full sweat, everything. And
Making
Buff,
shit happen.
yeah, I'm making shit happen. And Buff is just kind of chilling, he's not really in the working mood that day. And he's like, yo, let's go. And I was like, what? Because, we're in the middle of the workday. He's like, let's go back to my house and burn real quick. I was like, dude, what about this job? He's like, yeah, it'll be here later when we get back. Let's take like an hour or two. We'll go back to my crib. We'll burn, and then we'll come back and work. And I was like, yo, man, why don't we just finish this first? He said, all right, Palmer. Let me rephrase this. That's what he called me. All right, Palmer, let me rephrase. We're actually either going back to my house and burning right now, or you're fired. Oh, shit. I guess we're going back to your house and burning right now. So, and yeah, that was Buff in a nutshell. Love that guy. I love that guy. So funny.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah. So we
Anyway,
did
yeah.
finish the job later. Anyway, let's move it along.
Well, the last thing we got was the high-speed rail nonsense, but I don't really care.
You don't want to talk about
Oh,
it?
I did see that Hunter Biden is suing Fox News for calling him a crackhead.
If the shoe
Dude's a
fits. Did you see the video?
What, are you smoking Parmesan cheese? I've seen a whole bunch of videos of that dude.
Yeah. So have I, and many of them are concerning, to say the least.
Yeah, man, dude's a crackhead. It is what it is.
Hey, I mean, I'm not going to pick on him for having a substance abuse problem, but should we have that in the White House?
Oh, I don't care about that.
I do.
I just think he's a crackhead.
Well, apparently he is.
think
Hopefully he'll
they're
get the
not
help that
drugs
he
in
needs.
You think they're not blowing lines in the White House for years?
Oh, they found cocaine in the White House. Didn't you see that?
And they don't know it's there.
What's that?
And they don't know where it came from.
No, it just magically appeared there, of course. Trump probably left it from his previous campaign. So, we'll just blame it on Trump. But that was another thing that should have made the mainstream media and possibly did for a hot second.
Yeah,
Oh, look, a squirrel. And then we move on.
Come on, man. Like, I worked in Congress. Like, you can bring Coke in there if you wanted to. It's not hard to get Yayo in there.
Well,
You bring booze in there. I went through the scanner every day.
I'm sure anybody could smuggle it in,
Yeah, so you don't
should
think they're
they?
partying there? You don't think they're partying there at night? With the
Oh, well,
staffers?
obviously they are.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
cocaine's a party. Why else would you bring cocaine?
Just because it's the White House, it still doesn't mean it's not a job.
No,
They do all
that's
kinds of
true.
shit in there.
That's true. But I think there's a difference between you being a bartender or a stripper and blowing lines of coke in the bathroom, and then you actually running a country and blowing lines of coke right on the Oval
I'm
Office
sure-
table or whatever the hell they were doing.
Well, I want to assume that it wasn't like he went and blew a line and went out and gave like the State of the Union.
No, of
Well,
course
no.
not. No, it was probably his day off or something. But still, this is your place of work.
Yeah, it probably fell out of somebody's pocket.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
I'm sure it did. Whose pocket? I don't know. We're probably never going to find out. At least not why this regime is running the show.
Who cares?
It's a minor detail. There's so
It's
many
very
more important things going on in the world that we could talk about. So
It's like they found 4 empty bottles of Jack in a garbage can at the White House. Like, so what?
yeah, it's fine.
You think that, like, well, come on, be realistic. What do you think happens everywhere?
Yeah,
House is like Wilson. There's parties there all the time.
again, it's a gray area for me because
Shit.
I'm obviously quite friendly when it comes to people who like to party and do use substances. Like, that's fine. I have zero issue with that. But then again, it's the White House, so like
What?
Dave Chappelle said, now that might be okay for a mayor, but not in the White House.
I don't.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm just not surprised. Like
Yeah, I don't know.
suddenly the White House sacred, like it wasn't sacred before. Like,
Was it ever sacred? And if
No.
so, when was the last time it was?
Andrew Jackson used to throw keggers.
Yeah,
And
I'm
that's it.
sure.
right,
Who
it's
knows, man?
good.
There could have been whole orgies and stuff going on in the White House back in the day. I don't know. I wasn't there. At least
Somebody was.
Somebody was. They're probably dead now. But just from natural causes and all that. In any case,
Or it was probably Hoover. J. Edgar.
could be.
He had shit on everybody.
I don't know, but I'm sure people were partying in the White House. I'm sure it's not a new thing. But, given the current state of our government and our country, I'm concerned. If everything was great and everything was booming and every American had a home and food and, a car and everything that they wanted, guys, party it up. Everything's great. Continue the party. But it's not. And I think that's why I have a problem with it, because everything is not good. Anyway. Do you have anything else you want to add? You want to talk about cocaine more?
Don't really care about the yayo in the White House.
Anyway. Like I said, there's way more important things and way more terrible things going on in the world that we should be focused on than just a little bit of cocaine in the White House. Only reason we're even talking about it is because you brought up Hunter Biden smoking crack.
Well, no, because he's suing Fox, I guess, for like defamation.
What?
Of
Defamation?
character.
But you were smoking crack, bro. I saw the video. I mean,
Hey, I don't know. It's probably part of some scam to make it look like something somewhere.
maybe they're going to say it was AI or something like that. Oh, this isn't really me. It's AI
maybe they
generated.
can. No, I don't think they're going to do that. I think, but they could. Like if he would technically have a decent lawyer, right? Because he's Biden's kid.
Of
So,
course.
like if he's bringing up, they wouldn't bring up a useless lawsuit unless they thought they could use it to their advantage. So they're somehow going to get dealt, which I don't see how they win the lawsuit, or somehow like during the lawsuit they can use it as a distraction for something else.
Yeah, they could use it as a distraction, or it could just be a false front. Because we've seen
Use it for distraction. That would be the false front.
Well, no, not even just that. Just to be like, hey, this is a ridiculous claim, blah, 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 blah. So I'm taking the initiative and suing them. In some weird semblance that actually makes the, Hunter look innocent, but not
No,
to-
because why would any attorney take that to trial? His own attorney.
I don't think
would
they would. I don't think the plan is to go to trial. I think the plan, again, I don't know much about it, but from what you just told me, it sounds like the plan is to either use it as a distraction or to simply make Hunter look better in this scenario. Like, hey, you guys are smearing me.
There's no way to make him look better. What I'm saying is it has to be one because he doesn't have a case. It's like I got caught on video many times smoking crack.
Yes, I know that. And me and you
Any
have seen
lawyer is going to be like, you can't sue Fox. You're going to lose.
Yeah, we know that, but the mainstream public probably has never seen the video before. You think, have your parents seen the video of him smoking crack? My parents definitely haven't.
Like I always say this to Michelle. It's actually one of the other notes that I had is like when I first learned about like how screwed up the Federal Reserve was and how it worked. I thought I was like late to the party, and I thought everybody else already knew this. Like I remember talking to like smart people I think that were smart, who are just in different ways,
Right.
and I'm
They
like,
just didn't have that knowledge.
they didn't know, and I'm like,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So it's common knowledge to me and you that Hunter Biden has smoked crack because we've seen him on video doing it. But for the normies, the mainstream normal people that are still stuck in the matrix, they don't know that. So
I feel like Hunter smoking crack hit CNN and Fox at least once.
did it? I don't know.
Definitely hit Fox.
I'm gonna
It had
start
to-
asking normal people. Hey, do you know? I'm just gonna like people I know, of course, like not
I
just
don't-
strangers on the street. Although
I
that
don't
would be
have
funny.
The only time I see Fox or CNN is if it pops up in my algorithm or other people are pointing out how right or wrong they are, which is usually wrong.
Right. But yeah, I just don't know. I'm not really sure, but I would imagine that the mainstream public mostly either doesn't know that or they think the video's fake or, you know. But maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe.
Obviously me and you know about it, and yeah, of course there's a lot of other people that know about it too, but is that the masses? I don't know.
One of the reports came out of his spending habits, and he spent like 600 grand on like booze and strippers.
Wow.
It's fantastic. Like it's an impressive number.
600 grand. Those must have been
Yeah,
some awesome
like that.
strippers, man. I mean, and no doubt they were doing extra services for that kind of money, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, no, I didn't, and I'm not really sure why it costs that much money to get strippers and like even good strippers and even good booze. That's sounds crazy.
Good booze, good drugs, good strippers.
For 600 grand? Wow.
Yo, best hotel rooms, taking them all around. I don't know.
I guess.
Maybe he fell in love with them and treated them like queens. I don't know. I wasn't
Maybe.
there. I'm not a doctor. But I did stay at a Holiday Inn last night.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-
Anyway, so when I was like, I thought like people knew this, and like a couple people I just have been arguing with lately. It's like you get to a certain point where like when you start to like see their argument over like multiple conversations or whatever, and it's like you read what they're like trying to tell you and the things they keep going back to. I'm like, I thought like you really have no idea what you're talking about.
Like just rehashing the same point, even though it's not relevant.
Or it's like repeating just the hearsay you would get from like Fox or CNN or whatever your narrative like is. So like when I go after MMT, the left gets mad, but I can go after Trump and the right will get mad. You know what I mean? Because it's just they'll argue the points that you think they're going to argue, and they'll argue the points that you already know are wrong. And so I'm like, it's instead of trying to sit here and type and all this crap, I'm like, oh yeah, here's where I got it from. Here's 10 sources of where I got this from. Here's credible journalists. Here's economists, blah, blah, blah. Go look. I want you to look. I don't want to tell you I'm right and you're wrong. I want you to look and see if you are right or wrong. Because that's how I figured it out.
Well, that's how everybody wakes up, so to speak, right? Like you can tell me something till I'm blue in the face, and if I'm not gonna do the homework myself, then it's just your word versus the mainstream media's word, you know. And most of the time, in that case, people are gonna side with the mainstream media because you're one person saying this versus all of these other hundreds, thousands, whatever people that are saying it.
Well,
Go
as a
ahead.
student of history, and you wonder why the masses did all this crazy shit years ago, and like that would never happen today. And I'm like, no, it can happen today because I can see it happening right now.
What kind of crazy shit?
Whatever the masses would do some kind of shit to everybody else. Germans. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't think I'm following you. Like, go ahead.
You believe what they're telling you.
Oh, you're talking about them controlling and manipulating the masses to do something
Yeah,
for
yeah,
their
yeah, yeah.
purposes that may or may not be true.
Throughout
Yeah, yeah,
history, there
yeah,
have been tragedies committed by man on man
yeah,
based on whatever. So
yeah.
to think, yeah,
Well, it's not just government. I mean, religion is largely responsible for a lot of that stuff too.
yeah, but you can easily argue that the Catholic Church was almost part of the state back then.
Which state? The,
They were like involved in a lot of the states.
they still are. I'm going
Well,
to talk about the Vatican.
I'm talking about before, like the Crusades and shit.
Yeah. So, go ahead. So, like
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
Roman Empire, for example, right? The Roman Empire collapsed and evaporated into nothing, right?
Well, you could technically argue that it was around to like the 1700s because it was basically Germany.
The truth is that the ancient Rome, the Roman Empire, actually merged with the Church, with the Vatican.
Where's all Rome's gold? It's in the bottom of the Vatican, they say.
What's in the bottom of the Vatican?
I don't know. They're inside the Vatican.
No, because most people don't know. It's one of the
Michael
most heavily
Michael
guarded places
Corleone.
on the earth.
Michael Corleone was inside the Vatican.
Yeah, at least on camera, at least in the movie. But no, in real life, it's there's not a whole lot of people that have permission to go down there. And the Vatican also has a bank. I'm sure you're familiar with that because you know a lot about banks. I don't want to get into all that, but we'll talk about that in the future.
Well, I'm sure it's similar to the City of London.
No doubt it is.
Just the Italian version.
No doubt. As a private organization, the Vatican is separate, from Italy and has its own rules, its own laws, and the Vatican Bank actually doesn't have to disclose any of their finances. So who the fuck knows what's in that bank?
Because
Who has money in there? How much? Who knows?
Well, it doesn't matter because they're their own state.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. They don't have to disclose. Who are they going to disclose
No,
it
they
to?
don't have to disclose anything to anybody. So yeah, that's like I said, and banks. Just to be fair, bank is a business, right? So if you're a terrible person, and
Usury is the business.
right, as you said earlier, and in the last episode, I believe. So yeah, so if I'm the Vatican Bank and you're a terrible person, let's just say hypothetically speaking, and you show up and you're like, hey, I want to put $5 in your bank, I'm gonna be like, piss off. We don't like your kind around here. But then you're like, actually, I want to put $5 billion in your bank. That changes the game. So again, I don't want to get into all of that, but
No, I don't think it would work like that with the Vatican. I think that if you were trying, you can't like put $5 billion in the Vatican bank. You would probably have to put it in a bank that was controlled by them.
I'm just giving you an example.
All right.
But yeah, whatever they put in the bank. The point of the matter is bank is business. And, the Vatican Bank doesn't always do business with just good people. I'll just say
And
that.
inflation and usury and all this crap has been around since the beginning of time.
Yep.
People are gonna do people shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's
If you
evil in
take
the world.
any-
Not everybody's perfect.
There's a few people I think that maybe are quote unquote pseudo incorruptible, and I don't know very many of them. I think
My mother.
the vast your
Our
mom,
mothers.
there you go. But
Our
I
mothers.
think the vast majority of human beings, if you put them in a position of power, they're susceptible to corruption.
It can. Well, yeah. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah,
whatever
and
the
I
fuck.
think most of the time this is what happens, Or if the person can't be corrupted, what they try to do is they try to get something on you, something that you can't refute.
Or they get you out. They support the other candidate.
So
and
they
get you out.
they do that, or there's even blackmail, where hey, you're going to do this, or I'm going to release this tape, like P Diddy, for example, right? He had cameras all over the house.
Yeah. Well, the FBI used to do that too.
Oh, exactly. That's
who-
my point.
yeah.
So now I have you on video camera with doing whatever you were doing.
They're being coerced.
Yeah. Well, it's blackmail essentially.
Coerced. It's coercion.
Yeah, sure. You can call it whatever you want. But yeah, so you're going to vote this way, or I'm going to release this tape and I'm going to destroy your life. You're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. Your family's going to be shunned for the rest of your life because you're a terrible person.
It's the opposite of freedom.
Yes.
It's either cooperation or cohesion or coercion.
Yeah. So I think that happens a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, I think the first order of business is, to try to corrupt them through, promises of wealth and power. If that doesn't work, then I think they either do what you suggested, they just push you out the door and you'll never work in this town again, see you later, or they blackmail you.
The game's the game.
It is. It's an ugly game, for sure. But that's the game. So you don't want to talk about the trains? We don't have to, but I was kind of curious to know where you were going with that.
Well, they just don't work. You can't build high-speed trains in the States. It's just not going to happen. It's too late. Because we went a different way.
So
we went with trucks and highways.
Yeah, but why can't we build a high-speed rail from?
Because it won't be. There's no way to make it profitable.
So we can't do it cheaply enough to get
to make it turn to have it turn any kind of
to
profit.
Get somebody to be interested in building something like this. Okay.
Man, I'm not saying all high-speed trains, but because the one in Florida might work from the short spot to the short spot. What is it? Orlando to Miami.
They shot that down.
And then there's one out by you, which is going to be from LA to Vegas.
Again, I don't see how this is a bad thing, but like you said,
I'm not saying that those wouldn't be bad if they're efficient, but the reason, like I take the Northeast Corridor, I've taken it a million times, right, from DC to New York, right? Mm-hmm. They have a high-speed train called the Acela, but there's not enough. When you do the math of how do you build the high-speed rails, and just because they can go 200 miles an hour doesn't mean they go 200 miles an hour all of the time.
Right. Well, they have to slow down to stop and things. Yeah, of course.
Right. So they don't actually. The Acela gets you from DC to New York 20 minutes faster than the regular train.
So it's not even like a massive difference, so to speak.
Right. But like you got to have the lot of distance in between the stops so you can even get up to the speed
for it to be worth it.
The terrain and the track have to be right for you to maintain the high speed or even get up to it. You know what I mean?
I understand. So it would make more sense to use high speed rails in between two large cities that are far apart, so to speak.
Yeah, but with that, you might as well just fly because flying's getting cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah, it is. Well, then there's all these Boeing planes falling apart too. So yeah, that's going to reduce the cost a little bit.
Overall, the cost of flying has been coming down because it's more efficient.
Right.
Than the cost of the train. Again, say you even wanted to do it, like in the Northeast Corridor, where the fuck are you going to build it? You're going to tear up all the tracks and build new ones? How long is the system going to be out?
Well, you're right. I think for maybe like the Northeast, where you have all of these massive major cities, but they're all close enough together where high-speed rail may not be the best idea. But say like connecting one from like Pittsburgh to say Chicago, maybe something that might work though. Because you'll have enough distance in between to get up to these speeds. There's not too many stops in between that the train would have to stop at, I think. But,
well, it's the terrain, because look at California. California has invested billions of dollars into their high-speed rail, and they have 1/3 of a mile built.
That's it?
Yes, billions and billions of dollars. I bet you can Google it real quick and see how much.
I don't know if we have to. California's kind of speaks for itself nowadays with what they've decided to do with their money.
It's been going on for years.
Well, California's been upside down for years, going the wrong way, I would argue. Not with like, I like some of the the progressive stuff with, like rights, like LGBT stuff, but even there, I think they've gone quite overboard. But yeah, a lot of their other stuff, look at San Francisco, man. Well, what happened? It doesn't even look like the same city anymore. And I feel like that's happening in a lot of major cities, not just here, but all over the globe, in a lot of affluent nations. We talked about it recently, what's going on in London, Dublin, And you
Well, think
it's
about it
crazy.
this way: like, why do all these countries have a refugee problem? Why are all the refugees leaving? I wonder, is it because we've destabilized all their governments and we've been bombing the shit out of them forever?
It's all connected. It's pretty obvious to me. I mean, and this all just started like in the last few years, and it didn't just start here. It started simultaneously, essentially, in many of these countries. So
Well,
yeah, somebody's running the show here.
under Obama's term, he got us into 4 wars: Yemen, Lebanon, Syria,
And don't forget his bombing of Libya.
and Libya.
Do you? I heard. I don't know if this is true, but I heard that Obama ordered more strikes, missile
Drone
strikes,
strikes,
drone
yeah.
strikes, whatever, than any other president in the history of presidency. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that.
I believe. Well, yeah, because I don't think Trump had a long enough term to ever possibly catch up. So, because Obama did 8 years.
Well, I'm sure every president in the last 100 years or 50 years has had their share of strikes, whether it be missile, drone,
Yeah,
whatever.
well, again, he also inherited 2 wars.
Oh, Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Like, they were all-
but,
they were all-
but those wars had nothing to do with Libya or Syria.
Well, no, he started those, but we also did it by financing. We financed Al Qaeda, we financed ISIS, we financed
Oh, yeah.
the ones we were just fighting to fight each other, and then the one section of ISIS took over half, like a good chunk of Iraq. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, they were doing it in the name of the war on terror.
Well, yeah, but the truth is, it has to do with who's backing who, with the Sunnis and the
The Shiites.
Shiites and the Sunnis.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's all about that.
yeah.
But they go back and forth, backing different sides and different tribes and different groups. Like working with Al Qaeda, working with ISIS.
Well, it's like
Against ISIS against Al Qaeda.
it's like you said, we went to war with Al Qaeda, but we are responsible for creating Al Qaeda to begin with. And you said that recently about Hamas and the Israeli government, or Netanyahu specifically, has actually created Hamas, essentially. So we see this repeated happening over and over and over again. Osama bin Laden back in the 80s or whatever it was, or the 70s, when we were supplying him with weapons so he could fight against the Russians. So yeah. Anyway,
Well, you want to see if you want to see who we're fighting in 10 years, look to see who we're funding today.
yeah, it's a good point. And hopefully we're not fighting anybody in 10 years because, yeah, I don't.
Well, we're dropping bombs today, so good luck.
Well, yeah, but again, we're not okay with that. I'm not okay with that. Are you okay? Are you okay with that?
No, but it's happening, so I don't. It doesn't really
It
matter.
is happening, but we don't
All right,
have
so
any
let's
say
talk
in
about
it.
that. I don't care about your feelings.
Okay, that's fair.
No.
That's fair.
You want to talk about it, just talk about how it's going to work. You can't have feelings in it.
Well, I can't not have feelings. That's
You can have feelings, but when you think about shit logically, you can't let that interfere with it.
true with the end result. So yes, we're bombing stuff, but that doesn't mean that I have to like it or that I
never
can't
said you
speak
do.
up about it.
That's ridiculous.
So I'm not really sure where you're going with this then. So you're telling me I'm not allowed to have feelings and I have to look at this logically, but I can't look at it logically but still have feelings at the same time?
No, but you just can't keep telling me that, like, I feel bad for them. Or, like I get that. Now we're just talking about war. You know what I mean? Let's just talk about it.
Okay. So yeah, I guess while we're on the topic too, I mean the war on terror, right? Which is essentially still ongoing.
I don't know.
Well, again,
I mean,
Hamas.
probably.
Is Hamas not a terrorist organization, at least in the eyes of mainstream media?
Well,
What do they
That's
label
not-
them as?
well, just because there's terrorists doesn't mean that are we still doing the war on terror? Is it still called that?
Well, my point is whether we're calling it, addressing it, or it's still going on. Obviously, who's
Well, wasn't it going on before we called it the war on terror? So I'm saying, if you want to
Yes.
say the war on terror,
Yes. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, it has been going on for longer than they initially coined that term, and it's still going on now, even though that term isn't normally used anymore.
okay. So yes, we are fighting terrorists, but maybe I don't know if we're fighting George Bush's war on terror.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So George Bush, obviously, I think coined the phrase "war on terror." At least he's
Yeah.
been popularized for
That's
saying it.
that's what you do. The
But
war on drugs, the war on poverty, the war on homelessness.
right, and yeah, we're losing all of those wars, and they're the war on terror to me. And again, just to be fair, back when 9/11 was attacked, I know me and you were full in. George Bush had me, made you cry with his speech. I was
Yep.
full in on that, and looking back a couple years later, I was like, oh my god, I was totally wrong.
Yep.
I was duped into that, and we killed a lot of people, and a lot of Americans died as well.
Yeah.
And that never should have happened. So yeah, so
We just bring the troops home. Bring all the troops home. No more foreign aid for anyone.
at least until America is booming. And I mean everybody, every single person in every single city,
If
has
you
a
want
place
to
to
talk
live.
about giving money to another country, maybe if there's a surplus.
I'm good with helping
then
other countries, but we need
No,
to.
no, we just don't do it at all. No one else gives us money. Right? No one takes taxes from their people to pay us shit.
That's true. But I
And all
think that
people
they
money do is just getting it. We're sticking our nose in somebody else's business.
and the
All we're
government,
doing.
yeah, and they use this sympathetic tactic where they try to get our sympathy, for the and in many ways it works, and obviously, they have my sympathy to some degree, as well. So I think that's kind of how they try to, set it up for us. Think about like the Gulf War. Oh, Kuwait was invaded by Iraq, and the Kuwaitis have asked us for help, and what good person's not going to be like, hell yeah, we should go help them.
I get it. UN.
So yeah, so I think that that's how they try to present it to us, even though they omit a lot of the actual facts, the truths that have actually transpired behind the scenes. We don't get any of that. We just get, hey, these people are in trouble, they need our help. So yeah, of course, what good person's not going to be like, yeah, of course we should help them. So I think that's kind of their play on it. And if you look at it from that perspective, then yeah, I agree with them. They're not wrong. We should help, but it's when you factor in all of the actual stuff that they omitted, where you're like, oh, wait a second. So anyway, yeah, I just found, again, a couple years after I the whole 9/11 thing, and I was looking back at it, I just really found the whole war on terror to be, it's ridiculous. It's like the war on drugs. You're never going to win that war. Never going to win it. Drugs
So
are always
much money's been wasted.
so wasted.
And the
So many
cartels
people
just
been
got
killed.
stronger.
Go ahead.
The cartels just got stronger and stronger.
Yeah, and so did the people in power. And
Yeah,
obviously,
we're
the
not-
bankers super benefit from all of this too, because the military-industrial complex is firing on all cylinders, building
When I
weapons.
wanted to go, my thing in grad school, what I wanted to do was investigate cartels on the international level. I was interested in organized crime. That's what I was trying to get into before I got sick.
Well, you've always had interest for organized crime. I mean,
Oh yeah,
that goes back to your love of mafia films and all that stuff. So.
There's plenty of books behind me. I have all these books about prison gangs and jails around the world and how to compare them all and all this gangster mafia prison gang shit. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, and you've always been a fan of that. So, but yeah, I just find it ridiculous. I think Elon kind of said something about that recently. I think I said it in the last episode, where every time you kill a terrorist, you create two more. That person's family, that person's kids, somebody else who witnessed the whole
Yeah, I
thing,
got you.
who would have grown up and probably been not a terrorist, and now all of a sudden they're radicalized because of what they've experienced, what they saw, what happened to them, what happened to their family. So yeah, it's just a really stupid war. Obviously the war on drugs is something different. I'm not going to get into that, but that's also stupid because drugs is simple supply and demand, right? So if you're never going to end the war because there's always going to be demand for it. People are going to want to get high, so or drunk or whatever. And as long as you have that human demand for it, somebody's always going to supply it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
All right, I guess that's it. You want to just
So,
end this bitch?
sure. This seems
All
like
right.
a good place to end it. I don't really have anything else to add at the moment, or at least nothing I can think of. So
Like and share, I guess. I guess that means stuff. I don't want other people to hear me talk, so share your friends. Don't be shy. All right, I'm out, Paul. End it.
Peace.